Doctors? What?
Doctrine of God.
Yeah, wait, what'd you say? Something composite? Whose God is composite?
Yeah, I think that most models of Allah is composite.
Like what?
Hmm?
Can you name
Like
at
the
least
models that posit like the essence distinct from the existence, or the attributes really distinct from each other.
Okay, so which one is it? Because I mean, you have the Ash'aris, for example, which are majority, or not a majority, but you have Ash'aris, for example, that are going to posit that the existence of Allah is distinct from His essence. You have the Maturidis saying that they're identical, but still really distinct attributes. Then you have the Taymis also saying the same thing as the Maturidis. But then you also
Yeah,
have some
all of those.
contemporary Taymis holding to more like um, a Phrygian or Kantian view of existence, where it's just like some sort of higher order property. So, like, what do you like? Which mod are you attacking exactly? Like, particularly?
Well, I think all of those lead to composition.
Okay, why do you think that?
Yeah, because composition is just the unity of really distinct parts or really distinct
Okay, so what
things.
is constituting? Okay, yeah, but like, why should anyone accept those attributes as being parts? Like, you're just assuming composition in there to begin with.
Well,
We don't
it's
accept them.
analytic, and if you want to say, well, why is that
It's
definition
analytic.
problematic?
It's analytically true. Okay.
No,
This
it's
already
not.
I'm just wait, be quiet.
Hey, so what
Yeah.
constitutes a part? Something is a part if and only if what?
Yeah, I wasn't saying you necessarily have to take them as parts. I'm saying composition itself is a problem.
Yeah, I know, but I'm rejecting composition. I asked you, why do you think that it's composite? And you said, well, he has parts. And I'm saying, well, I reject that. Like, I reject that he even has parts. So
No, I wasn't
why
saying parts.
why should I hold on one second? What's the motivator, or why should I accept those really distinct attributes to be parts, which are configuring like a whole?
Yeah, I'm not saying the really distinct things that are united are necessarily parts, as in they produce a third thing. But I'm saying
You
that
did.
this composition is still problematic, even imperfect
But
composition.
I don't believe that it is. There's any composition like at all. At least any sort of composition that would render like mereological complexity as it's stated in the literature, right? Because I don't even take those attributes to be parts. So I'm going to ask you again, like, why exactly would you say that Allah is composite? At least these models. Because I
Well,
asked
that's
you before, and then you
obviously
ended up saying, "Well, because he has these parts which unite to make up a whole." Then I asked you, "What's the motivator for why anyone should accept these attributes as being parts?" Because then there's an assumption there. Then you said, "Well, you don't necessarily have to accept that." So, like, again, I'm just going to ask you the question again: why should I even care about your objection? I don't even take God to be composite. So why should I be accept, or why should I accept that?
okay. So I'm gonna give 2 points. So the first point is just to say that they're not necessarily parts because they don't constitute a third. Yet they're still analytically composition by the definition that I gave. And the reason why that's problematic is because this would imply some sort of potentiality or distinction between essence and existence in God.
Okay, number one, I would just simply define a part as it would be in the literature, which is just going to be something which makes up a whole. I don't, no offense, I don't really care about like Thomistic, like assumptions, but I would just define it as like um, a part just being something which makes up a whole in this case. And to make up a whole, the part is obviously going to be ontologically prior to the whole. Whether you take ontological priority to um, assume some sort of temporal priority, which honestly would be way worse for you. But even then, I won't even grant temporal priority here. Like some people may argue that ontological priority can only be the case if it's temporal priority, which I'm not going to delve into. But I do think that there needs to be ontological priority of the part if it's going to, ground or make up the whole. And I would say that's going to be completely impossible, granting that the part is causally inert. So this whole idea of like some sort of causal relation between the part and the whole and um, potentiality within God with respect to these attributes, I also take that to be impossible because they're causally inert. So they're not going to be apt to these causal relations to begin with, to even hold some sort of like part whole relation.
You know?
Yeah.
So again, I don't take it as some sort of part whole relation. That's not what I'm taking it as. Taking it as
What?
these two entities.
Wait, sorry, you
Yeah.
said you're not taking composition to be a part whole relation?
No, not necessarily.
But that's what it
perfect
is in
composition.
mereology. Okay, when you say that God is composite, are you not just saying he's mereologically complex?
No, not necessarily. That could be one thing.
You're not saying that.
Well, we could.
Composition is a claim within mereology. I mean, you're using the semantics of part and whole, right? because you're trying to make out a part-whole relation. That's why when I asked you, why is God composite, or how is he composite, you said because these parts, exclamation mark, parts are uniting to make up a whole. So these semantics that you're going to use to conclude composition or to constitute composition, it's going to assume a part-whole relation. So
No,
obviously we're
because
talking within mereology if we're talking about something being composite. That's literally a mereological claim.
no, I didn't say they come in union to create a third thing. That's perfect composition.
I didn't say to make
I'm
a
using
third thing,
it
but when
how
I
it's
initially asked
originally.
you,
I'm using
no,
composition as in the Thomistic tradition, how they use it,
no
which is
offense, I don't
not.
really
Yeah,
care
you're
less.
saying you don't. Yeah, I understand you don't care about the definition.
I really
What
don't
I'm
give a
telling
fuck.
you is the definition isn't relevant. I'm just clarifying the errors that you're making in my point. You're not understanding my
Yeah,
point,
but I
which is
already
to
told
say
you
that just
before. I
because
already
there's
told you
multitude of
before.
things
I
united,
know. I already
that
told
does
you
not
before.
necessitate
No
that there's
offense.
some new third thing. All I'm
I
telling
already
you is
told you
that
before. I don't give a shit about like what Thomas say. Like I don't even take. I don't give a shit what they say. Like, can you prove to me at least like Can you make like an interesting argument, like an interesting claim on why I should even take my God to be composite? If you're just gonna say, "Oh, it's composite because there's real distinction between the attributes," I don't care. So what's the issue? Well, I don't know. It's not perfect composition. Well, who cares? Because we're talking about mereology here, right? I'm sorry, but this is 2026, right? Nobody's scared. Nobody really cares about scholastics like that anymore. So it's 2026, and when we talk about mereology, we're going to talk about part-whole relations. We're going to use those sort of semantics, right?
yeah,
And
are
under
you,
those semantics, if I were to say that God is composite, I would then probably render him to be ontologically dependent because he's grounded by the configuration of his. Ontologically dependent because he'd be grounded by the configuration of his parts. That's why I would reject that sort of claim, and that's why I wouldn't want to say that my God is composite. And
yeah.
I also think that my model is going to perfectly preserve God as being ontologically independent.
Yeah. So when we talk about this imperfect, I'll give you the problem with it, which because I don't think you got what I said before. When I said the problem with imperfect composition under this view is just to say that God has potentiality, because then you have the substance constituted independently of these really distinct attributes. And then these really distinct attributes would then exist as accidents in the substance, which then would imply passive potency in God. But
I
pure
don't believe in passive
actuality
potency in
cannot
God.
have passive potency.
Yeah, I don't believe that there's going to be any sort of passive potency in God, especially if I grant from a Maturidi point of view. Even if you were to grant like the Ash'ari point of view again, because they're not going to take like this Aristotelian notion of change like a Thomist would probably assume. They would probably take like a well, first off, because your whole idea here is just an Aristotelian assumption. So Tamis who hold that God acts temporally aren't going to care about these Aristotelian assumptions. They're not going to be applicable to them. So when you say passive potency, actual, they're not going to care about those terms. They're not even going to hold to an Aristotelian notion of change. Maturidis, for example, who may be more sympathetic towards that, aren't even going to hold that God is acting temporally. They're going to say he's acting from eternity. But they wouldn't even grant that these attributes themselves are going to be apt to any sort of causal relations. So them being in like any state of so them holding like any sort of like relation of potentiality between another thing or any sort of causal relation to another thing, that's also not going to be the case because they're causally inert. So it's also granting that God is going to act by virtue of his attributes, which also again is going to assume that they're causally efficacious. So again, like your argument is just complete dog shit and just shows that you don't know anything about these views that we have
Yeah.
or what we accept and don't
So
accept. Like, can you at
yeah,
least give something interesting that isn't just some like dumb Thomist like assumption that nobody really cares about?
yeah. So you don't even have to hold to potency realism. You can literally just you can deny potency as such, and I don't care. This argument still goes through. Because the point of which I'm saying, let me finish, is that when we talk about pure actuality is the type of thing which is the fullness of being. And because it's the fullness of being, there's nothing outside of it. So there's nothing that it can become other than already what it is. But if we have this thing in which can be something else, then it is not the type of thing which is pure actuality. And anything which is not pure actuality has their actuality distinct from what they are,
You
or
done?
essence existence distinction, which then would, if it's essence existence distinction, then their existence is
Yeah,
received
okay.
and
I'm
they're
just gonna.
ontologically
You already
dependent.
said this. You already said this exact same thing. Again, I actually responded to this in the very beginning. I said that every single school, at least like, or all the creeds in Islam, the Maturidi creed and the Athari creed, excluding the Ash'ari creed, are gonna say that Allah's existence is identical to His essence, right? The Ash'aris are gonna say that that's not the case. They're really distinct. And then you have some contemporary Tamis, a lot of Tamis nowadays, that say that Allah's existence is just a second order property. So they take like the Kantian or the Phragian view of existence, and they just take it to be like a higher order property. So they're not going to say that it's identical to essence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, they're going to reject it for that specific reason. So it would just be like gibberish to even say that essence is identical to existence at that point. But they're also going to reject this whole Aristotelian notion that you have that, well, or this whole like essentialist point of view that you have, that granting that Allah's existence is not identical to his essence, then he could have been some other way, right? They're going to reject that essentialist notion as well.
Wait, so if you are not existence itself, then you're not not something else either? You're either existence or not pure existence? You would reject that
Sorry,
dichotomy?
go ahead.
You So are you going to reject the dichotomy? You're either pure existence or you're not pure existence?
I'm not rejecting that dichotomy. I'm just saying that this whole idea and assumptions that you're inputting into the creeds isn't something that they're going to want to accept. They're not going to, like, some of them aren't going to hold to pure actuality as you would posit it, right? But they're going to reject the assumptions. For example, you would obviously say that not holding to like pure actuality would probably render God to be contingent, right? Because it could have been some other way, and because of passive potentiality and everything else. But that is just going to be like granting some sort of Aristotelian assumption here.
You don't have
So
to grant it. That's my point. You don't
I
have to
know
grant
that's my whole
these
point. You
things, but
don't
you're
have
still
to
going to be
grant it,
on.
and I think
Yeah,
it's
my whole point is you don't
if you
have
do
to
grant
grant a lot of the things in what you're saying, like potency existing, and all these other things. But what you guys, the problem still arises even if you don't have act potency. And you guys are saying he rejects pure actuality, and I'm telling you the logical implications of that. If you're not your own existence, then you're distinct from your existence, and it's participated. So you can even say, well,
yeah,
it's presupposing essentially. No, it's
that's
not. I'm just
again just an
implying the
Aristotelian
implications for your view.
assumption because
How is that what Aristotelian assumption is it?
people who hold to the Phragian or Kantian view of existence as it being some sort of higher order property aren't going to commit themselves to saying something like that because existence itself is just a higher order property, not a first order property, right?
That's those views.
I
I'm
mean,
talking
you're
about
just
the
so
other views.
confused. Like they're not going to. Have you heard of that view from Kant or Frege? And do you know how they formulate it like that?
No, I wasn't attacking that view. I was attacking
I
the
know
other
you're not
views.
attacking that view, but I'm just saying because now you're just trying to say, well, it doesn't matter what they hold to and what they reject. It does matter because what you're saying that, well, if he's really distinct from his existence, then blah blah blah, then he's going to do this, and this is the case. Yeah, that's only the case under one Aristotelian assumptions, and two, granting this isn't going to work if they grant the existence the way that Kant and Frege would render it.
How would Kant and Frege render existence?
I just told you they take it to be a higher order property, not a first order property. Have you read Kant regarding this?
No, I haven't read his view of existence. That's why
Okay,
I
well, I'm
didn't
pretty
really
sure
go
Geach
after that.
also. Unironically, I think this would be good for you because, no offense, I don't think you're very good at attacking this point, and I think you kind of have to because a lot of people who are anti-Thomism hold to this view. They, you should read Geach where he does attack Frege on this specifically because Frege also helped to this. There's a paper that Geach has where he just essentially attacks Frege's view on this. But yeah, like
Yes, that's not the.
nobody
I
cares
wasn't
about
really
the argument.
attacking the Phragian view.
I know you're not attacking it, my nigga,
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
know.
saying it's a bad. It's
Yeah,
something
yeah,
which
I
is
know, I know, I
going
know,
to
I know.
defeat your whole view.
I know what you're saying, but you should
Yeah,
read
you
this.
can't attack it because you don't even know what it is. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I was. The other
Yeah,
views can't be
but
silenced.
it really deconstructs your view here. Like it really
This guy's
kind of
so
just
confused,
does
man.
damage to the Thomist assumptions and what the Thomists want to say God is. But anyways, yeah, I think you should definitely read that paper. I recommend it to you because anyone who holds that view, especially because I like, I know how like you and like a lot of your low tier goons would probably attack Tamis and Ethedes for holding that God acts temporally and he's not identical to his existence and all that. Well, guess what? They hold to a lot of those assumptions that I just listed, which you have no clue about. So you should definitely read up on them, starting with Geach's paper against Frege.
And you can
What
also.
he's basically saying is you're a low tier bum and you should kick rocks or go read some books. Basically what he's saying.
Yeah, totally, bro. So you can't
Yo, Blyce, is that you?
render his position.
He said what? What am I
Blyce, is
what?
that you?
Go ahead and render the position then. Since you're so confident
Render
that
the
you're
position.
Render the
Just
what
you gotta
position? I
shut
just
up,
said
bro.
it's
You
going to
gotta
be the
just.
position that it's
Render
higher
the
order
position.
property.
Damn,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, yeah.
You have to like try and save face by invoking some sort of like
Yeah, but
smart
just let
word.
it go, bro.
Render his position.
You gotta let it
Say
go, bro.
reiterate his position. Like,
Bro,
say-
I'm not gonna further discuss. Like, no offense, Whyfun. I'm not gonna further discuss. I just said this is Frege and Kant's position. You could look at it in Kant's book. What was that book that he? It was the very last book he wrote. It was Opsum essay, something like that. I forget what it was called. But he also, that's where the view came from. And then Frege also held to it. And then Geach also made a paper against Frege, um, which I can also give to you, where I think he does kind of attack this view and a lot of its implications. So I haven't read that in a while.
Oh no, this nigga's gonna give you papers, bro. That's bad. It's a bad look.
Maybe some homework.
Not a
It's a bad
bad
look.
look.
It's some
Yeah,
Actually, a
it's
homework.
a
bad look.
bad look.
Me when
Actually,
we
a bad
run a
look.
composition argument. That's me, bro.
That's actually a bad look. That's
Holy
actually a
bump
bad
tier.
look.
I changed
I'm not
my
gonna
name
lie
in
to
my
you,
profile
Whyfun.
picture to like a
Holy
Yeah,
different
shit.
like
Whyfun. That's a bad look. That's a bad
Totally.
look, bro.
How did it defeat my argument though? If you're
Nigga,
gonna
you
say
had no
it's a bad
argument.
look of Eason.
Bro,
Nigga, you had
wait,
even no
Saint,
no,
I don't
no
want to
argument,
kill
nigga.
it here.
He said
Like,
all
he
he said
literally
was
said
that
that
we don't hold
he's
to
not
that
talking
model of
about a
existence.
mereological claim because he's not talking about perfect composition, right? He's talking about just thomist. By the way, he literally uses parts in his own like argument against me. He's talking about parts and holes and like, like bro, that's literally
I'm not
mereological.
talking about parts and holes.
Yes,
You
you
were
are. You
talking about
literally
parts
told
and
me.
holes.
Where did I
Whyfun?
say
You
parts and
what?
holes?
You
I don't know.
literally said it at the beginning. What?
Yeah.
You did. You literally
Wait,
said that.
why are you? Yeah, we heard you say that. What are you
Bro,
talking
You
what
about?
the
literally said
fuck,
at the very
dude? You
beginning that the
literally
parts are
said
united
it's gonna
into.
be a composite, and Jad immediately asked at the beginning of the conversation, "What's the argument that if God has really distinct properties, then He has parts?" And you literally just said it's analytically true. Like that's literally what you said at the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah, so
No,
why
what
should
I
anyone
said
accept
was
it
that
if it's united?
composition is the
What do you think?
unity of really distinct things. It doesn't
No,
have
you
to
said parts,
entail
really distinct parts. You said parts, not
Are
distinct.
they ontologically prior to the whole?
said things.
No, you said parts because then, as Fink said, I literally asked you, why should I even accept them as being really distinct parts? And you said, well, that's just analytically true.
Before that, I literally said there
Bro,
doesn't have to be
I hope
parts.
someone actually recorded this because this is literally on recording.
Wait, Wi-Fi,
Oh, you didn't
Wait,
record it.
so Wi-Fi, when you say something is composite, what does that mean?
That is just a unity of distinct things.
Okay, so
Are
composite is
these
the unity
distinct
of
things?
distinct
Are they
things.
ontologically prior to the whole?
Mm-hmm. Not necessarily, no. Because the whole thing can be like X, but X is in union with Y and Z.
But
But
like
now speaking
nobody, the issue
composition.
is that like nobody should even care about this definition at all because like I would want to care if it renders God as being like ontologically dependent in some sort of way, right?
Well,
Because that's
that
what
V
like
does. Yeah, it does.
no, it doesn't. I mean, maybe under like all these stupid Aristotelian assumptions and all that, then maybe.
What assumption do I
Um,
have to take to say that?
sorry.
It's either being itself or it's not being itself. Is this going to be true or false?
Yeah, because if I'm gonna take these attributes to be causally inert, there's not going to be any sort of potentiality in God because the God's not acting by virtue of those attributes. They're not going to be apt to these sort of causal relations to begin with, right? So
He said,
again, there's not going to be any sort of potentiality. And also, if I grant that God acts from eternity as well, also no potentiality. If I grant that God acts temporally, well, I probably wouldn't even hold to the Aristotelian view to begin with.
still is, because if we talk about, again, like the thing which I'm not necessarily saying that the parts are causally.
Be
They don't
careful!
even have
Don't
to
say
be
the word part. We're
parts.
not talking about. Take
Yeah,
that back.
I just clarified that. It doesn't have
Don't
to
say
be parts.
no, but we're not talking about mereology.
Yeah,
Don't say the word
yeah, yeah,
part.
yeah. Yeah,
We're not.
I'm saying they don't have to be
Can you repeat that
causally.
sentence without saying the word parts? Because we're not talking about mereology.
Yes, I'm saying, yeah, they don't have to be causally inert. What I'm saying is that this thing
Well, they are causally inert.
itself, or X, or whatever we call God, his essence is either being itself or it's
Oh my
not.
God.
And if it's
Again, you're
not
just
being
repeating the
itself,
same bullshit that nobody cares about. That's only going to be the case granting your like Aristotelian essentialist view. That would be the case.
doesn't even
That would,
grant.
Having a proper fucking screwdriver right now, boys. What's going on?
Alex, be quiet, please.
that would be the case
Definite.
if you grant like an essentialist point of view, like a modal essentialist or even like a neo-Aristotelian essentialist point of view, where that if God is distinct from his existence, then he could have been otherwise and all this other like aspects of contingency in
You
God.
don't. I
Sure.
mean, that essentialism. You have to pause that to say something exists, because essence. To say that, like
Oh my
a
God.
Thomistic essentialist view, for example, is just to say a thing, which is what a thing is, exists.
Yeah, but it's way more than that. There's also other implications, which the neo-Aristotelian essentialist view, which in my opinion I think aligns slightly with the Thomist view. That one is very similar to the Thomist view, and the implications that it has is that granting that something like an essence being distinct from its existence, then yeah, obviously it would be rendered as being different in some sort of other possible world. So it wouldn't be a necessary being. As a necessary being would be identical to its existence, granting a neo-Aristotelian essentialist view, right? That's what a neo-Aristotelian essentialist view would commit you to say. But again, Maturidis and Etheres, at least Ibn Taymiyyah himself, already agree that he's identical to his existence, right? They just disagree, or they just don't say that the attributes are identical to each other and this existence, but they say that the existence is identical to essence. Those who reject that view and say that he's distinct from his existence aren't going to commit themselves to those Aristotelian assumptions anyways. They're just going to say that existence is a higher order property. So to even say that existence is identical to essence is just going to be just gibberish. But
Right.
instead,
So
it's a higher order property. Now, I'm even granting like this Aristotelian assumptions and all these, and all that sort of stuff, right? Like some of the Maturidis do. They're still going to hold an identity statement between existence and essence, but they're going to take the attributes to be causally inert and really distinct from each other in the essence. Done.
did I not already defeat the Maserati's view though?
I
By
have no idea.
saying that
I have no idea what you just said right there.
did I not defeat that view though, the Maseratis, which says that essence
Masoretes,
and
Maturidis.
existence.
The thing is with the
Maserati's view.
Masoretis.
Maserati is talking about the
The
car.
Yeah, this is
Maturidis,
a bad luck.
you say
You're
what?
This
Sorry,
asking
keeps
what?
getting.
them if you're
Yeah, this
defeating a
keeps getting
position or
worse.
not. Like, are you like not that
No,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying I
You
already
know
your
what?
defeated it
argumentation?
anyways. I already
Yeah,
defeated
the
Because
that.
I don't
Maseratis.
know, but like
Anyways,
that's
How
not
do you
that's
defeat?
not
anyways,
How do
true
you
let me
that
defeat?
finish.
How do you
I
existence.
already
defeat the
defeated that
Maseratis?
position because
Come
you're
on,
either
how do
This
you
going to
nigga
say
defeat
just
the
that
said I
Maseratis?
defeated
There you go, there you go.
something
Like
outside
now,
of being.
now we're teaching you to speak with
Let me finish.
confidence.
You're either going to say that there's something outside of being in which being can become, or you're not going to say that. And if you don't say that, then
Nigga, ain't no
having these
Maseratis here, bro.
accidents,
Let it
which
go,
aren't
bro.
constituted the substance, then you're going to have to say that
Sorry, can you repeat
these
that? I
things
couldn't
are
hear you.
super added
Don't
to
want to
the
speak over.
essence.
Can you repeat that?
Okay. So if we're going to say these attributes don't come together to constitute the essence, then we're going to say that the essence then
What do you mean by
is super
constituting
added
yes?
to the essence.
Do you mean
Things
grounding?
come together to
Do you
make
mean
it
by
up, like
configuring? Yes.
mereologically complex, yeah. And if it isn't.
You're not even arguing that to begin with, so I don't even know why you mentioned that.
No, I'm saying you're either going to have to say that it does come together to compose the essence or become parts which make a third thing, or you're going to have to posit that they're super added to the essence.
That's just a false dichotomy. What do you take super added to be here?
Super added? Something which doesn't constitute but is added like an accident.
Okay, so but you already took constituting here to mean you took
Make it what it
constituting.
is.
Oh, sorry, you said it wouldn't be constituted, but it'd be like some sort of accident, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would disagree. I would say that's just a false dichotomy.
That it either makes it up or it's
No, I'm
something
saying that
different
what
than
you
it
just said right
united.
now is a false dichotomy.
Wait, so is the thing
That
itself a
it's either
substance?
going to be mereologically complex or they're going to be super added, i.e., accidents. Because
Yeah,
if
because
I'm
you're
just
already
hold on.
identifying the
An
attribute as a
accident,
predicate.
can I speak? Can I speak? An
Go ahead.
accident is just going to be like some sort of non-essential attribute of a particular thing, right? Which is typically going to be some sort of aspect of contingency. I take these attributes to be metaphysically necessary, right? And I can take them to be metaphysically necessary without like any sort of proof. We're not talking about like logical claims here, so I don't need to provide like some sort of like syntactic proof to prove that they're necessary. I can just simply say they're metaphysically necessary, and then
No,
call that. Call it
you're
a
not
day.
understanding an accident either way. Even under your definition, it wouldn't be an accident. An accident is just that which exists in another.
Yeah, I don't believe that they're accidents because they're causally inert, so they're going to be ontologically dependent. I don't believe that they're going to be um, causally inert.
Okay, you
Think,
can
well,
think they're
sorry.
causally inert. That doesn't solve the issue, which is that they don't exist in themselves. And since they don't exist in themselves and they're predicates, then it's true of the subject. So it's either true of the subject's essence or something which is not of the essence or making up the
Yeah,
essence.
it's true. It's a true predicate of the essence, but I don't take it to be an aspect of. I don't take it to be an accident. Why is that? Why is what you presented to me a true dichotomy?
Because it's either true. Yeah, I'll just break it down like this. It's either true or
It's not a
false.
P or not P, by the
Let me
way.
finish. It's
That's
either
not
true
a
or false that it constitutes the essence. If it's
Sorry.
false that it constitutes the essence, then it is not what's it called? A true predicate of the essence. But if it constitutes the essence, then the essence truly is composite because it has this attribute or this predicate, and then it has its existence.
Okay, but that's not what I'm talking about. Because what you asked me was this. You asked me, does it constitute the essence? Meaning, is it mereologically complex? Meaning, is there mereological complexity involved? And then you asked me, or is it super added? I'm saying that in itself is a false dichotomy. I already explained how there's no mereological complexity involved because they're causally inert. And as for the second option, whether they're super added or not, them being super added, according to you, is going to entail that there's some sort of accidents, which I would obviously reject because I don't take them to be non-essential. They're going to be essential attributes insofar as if God were to lose these attributes, then he would no longer be God because there's a bicondition between those attributes and between God's essence and those attributes, right? The only accidents I'd say that there are going to be only extrinsic to God. I don't take them to be like inherent accidents in God. But the attributes which are intrinsic to God, they're going to be biconditioned to his essence to begin with,
What
which
do you
isn't
think
going to
it
be the
means to
case
be
granting
essential?
for a super added essence.
What do you think it means to be essential?
To be essential, in this case, it would just entail that they're intrinsic and that God needs them to be God.
That's
They'd be
not what I'm
essential to
saying
his
by
identity.
essential. By essential, I'm meaning
Sorry?
something of the essence.
Yeah, of the essence, so it's intrinsic.
Yeah, if it's intrinsic to the essence, then it's
And that if you were to lose this
included
property,
in the
you would no
essence.
longer be who you are, right?
It's included. Yeah, it's included within constitution of the essence. Then
Yeah, okay, but that's again just another assumption. It's not constituting
not an
the essence.
assumption. It's literally what we mean by it's. It constitutes the essence. Is it
Sorry,
makes the
it's not
essence what it is?
constituting the essence insofar as it's making it up.
Does it change the essence at all?
Sorry, no,
So there's no difference between God having power and not having the power, a predicate of power.
no. I'm saying if God were to lose the attribute, then yeah, that would entail a change in essence. He would no longer be God because they're, as I said, they're by condition.
Yeah, you can say they're biconditionally related. It's not what I'm asking you. What I'm asking you is that is there a difference between, say, for example, if he were to have it and he were to not have it? You're saying the difference is he wouldn't exist. I get that. I'm not saying the attribute doesn't exist,
Okay.
but I'm saying does the object's identity change, or does it change the
Yeah,
object's
I
identity?
literally just said it does change. In fact, because he would no longer exist. That's a change in
No,
identity. Yes,
so the
the
object
object's
constitutes its
identity
identity then.
would obviously change because it's an essential property. Not only would it not change, but it wouldn't even exist to begin with because they're by condition to each other. It's an essential attribute.
Yeah, do you even understand what you're saying?
Oh my gosh, I do understand what I'm saying. You
And
just
what do you think
asked
it
me,
means to be a
would the
proper? What do you
object's
think it means to
identity,
constitute an
bro?
essence?
I don't. Oh my god, you just asked me, would the identity of the object change, granting that the property is taken out or ceases? And I said yes, it would. In fact, I would say that God wouldn't even exist to begin with if it's taken out, which is a
Yeah.
change in identity.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, but then I said, do you understand what what something constituting the essence means?
Yes, you said it constitutes the essence, granting that it's something which makes up the essence. Because you remember, at least according to you, that's what you told me in the very beginning when you gave me that dichotomy, the false dichotomy, by the way. You said that it else constitutes the essence. And when I asked you what you mean by constitute the essence, you said that it would involve mereological complexity, meaning that it makes up the essence to make up a third, or makes up the whole to make up a third. Or then you said they are super added. So I rejected your idea of constituting the essence, and I don't take that to be something as constituting the essence. Because if it were to constitute the essence, at least according to your terms, insofar as where there's mereological complexity involved, I would take there to be some sort of ontological priority, and it would have to involve these attributes as being causally efficacious to make up the whole. But that obviously would involve causal efficacy for these attributes.
Right. So then, what do you? Okay.
Yeah, big,
When we
bro,
talk about,
fake.
anyways, yeah, when we talk about, anyways, does this property of power, for example, make the essence what it is, or make God what he
Again,
is?
yeah, I believe that it's a necessary descriptor. You just asked me the same exact question you asked me before, by the way. You asked me, is there a change in
Yeah, I'm
identity here?
rephrasing it to
No,
make
I'm gonna.
you
I just want to
understand.
explain to everyone how you're just like being extremely dishonest. Before
Totally
you
being
asked
dishonest,
me
bro. But
if
like
I was,
you
no, no,
answering
I'm
that
gonna show you.
question
I'm gonna show
literally
you.
is the
I'm gonna show you. Don't run away from this. You asked me the same exact question. Now you're just rewording it differently. Because before you asked me if God were to lose this attribute of power, does his identity change? Well, I said yeah. Now you're asking me, well, is it something which is necessary for his identity? You're asking me the same thing, just wording it completely different.
They are.
Anyway,
Sweet.
so you can't say then it's an essential property that does not constitute the essence if it makes God what he is, if what he is his essence. So this is what
Yeah, because
makes his
I'm
essence.
not. Again, I can say it constitutes the essence insofar as it's like a necessary descriptor of the essence, right? But I don't accept the way you take constituting to be, because when you say the word constituting the essence, you're just trying to say that it grounds or makes up the essence, which I reject it in that manner.
That's the same
Just
thing
to
as
mean
saying that it makes the essence what it is, because the essence is
no,
what a thing
no,
is.
no, no, no.
So if
That's
X
not.
makes
That's not what I
Y
mean,
what it
though.
is, then
That's
X of
not what I
Y is
mean by
essence.
making up. In mereology, that's not how it works. In mereology, if something makes up the essence, right, then it's going to be a part of that whole, meaning that you have all these parts which are grounding the configuration of that whole, right? That's what they would mean by constituting, insofar if you're using it in that way, right? Which is what I reject.
Well, I
But
told you that
simply saying that
constituting
it's a
entails this, not that
descriptor,
it's
simply
the
saying that
same
it's a
thing as this.
causally, one second, but if you take it to be a causally inert descriptor of this essence, then all that means is that it's describing the essence, right? Not that it and it obviously, granting that you were to take away the attribute of power, that means God is not all powerful. Therefore, obviously, he's not all powerful. So that's a change in his identity, right? But that's not by virtue of being constituted or because he lost some sort of part which configures him. No, because they're causally inert. So he's not. They're not even apt to these sort of causal relations that like mere logical complexity would want to commit you to, right?
Yeah. So what I'm trying
No
to
offense,
say,
I really don't think you've read anything regarding neurology. You're just making these stupid claims.
yeah, totally, bro. So I didn't
Yeah,
say that
stick
it's.
with it.
Yeah, I didn't say that constitution's identical. I said constitution would entail this conclusion, which is that it's neurologically complex. And the reason why I said that is because then you have this attribute, which is the essence, then you have the existence, and these two things are not identical.
Again, you're just going back to what you said completely way before. We're already past that point of existence and essence, because now what you're trying to address, we're again, yeah, I think we're back to square one. What we're trying to address here, because now you're attacking the quote unquote Maserati creed, or obviously the Maturidi creed, or creeds that at least or creeds that are going to posit something similar, like the Ethity Creed, right? Insofar as God's essence is identical to his existence. We're already at that point. We already accepted that, right? And then when I asked you, well, what's the issue with the Maserati Creed and whatever they posit? You told me that the issue is that they're also going to say that God, since that they assert really distinct attributes, they're also going to say that it constitutes the essence, and therefore there would be there's going to be mereological complexity
That's
because
not what I said.
you did, but then you also gave me another option, which was else they're super added.
I'm proposing a dilemma, which is either that they're
Yeah, I
super
think it's
added, which means that they're accidental,
yeah, and
or
I already rejected
they
both of those options.
constitute
I
the
don't think that would be a
essence,
true
and since they
dichotomy. A true
constitute it,
dichotomy. It would have been a true
they'll speak out of
dichotomy.
both sides of their mouth.
It would have been a true dichotomy if you asked me, well, are they super added or not super added, or are they constituting the essence or not constituting the essence? That's a true dichotomy. That's in the form of a P or not P. You give me a form of a P or Q. That's not a true dichotomy. That's a false dichotomy.
Totally, yeah.
That's that literally is a false dichotomy. What I
Baked,
gave
bro.
you is a true dichotomy. I already explained to you why I don't need to commit myself to saying that they constitute insofar as like they're mereologically complex, right? And I also gave you the view on how they're not going to be.
You're
Ex-
presupposing it and asserting it. You're not.
I'm not presupposing or asserting it because I
Yes, you
already
are.
gave you
Because
the
I'm saying the
conditions.
same thing.
No,
Listen. You can say X attribute, which
okay,
is
we're gonna
power,
do like this. We're gonna do like this.
is the
Something is
essence.
mereologically
So the
complex.
power is the essence, right?
Okay, how about this? How about this? No, because clearly I don't think you understand like what it means to be mereologically complex. So something is mereologically complex if and only if what?
Oh no.
Yeah, something if and only if it has parts in which make up a whole.
Okay, so what does it
Fuck,
mean to make up a
y'all are
whole in this case?
fucking losers,
So I know
dude.
that this part
Fuck.
is the part which
Come on,
makes up
bud.
a whole if what? What does it need to be?
It's
What does it do?
ontologically prior, and it's
Okay,
distinct from the whole.
nice. Yeah, I agree actually. So if one of those conditions is not there, so if it's really distinct from the whole in this case, granting a part whole relation, if it's really distinct from the essence, right? But not ontologically prior, is it still going to compose the whole?
If it's really identical to the essence, then no.
No, I didn't say that. I said really distinct from the essence, but not ontologically prior.
Then no.
So it's not going to compose. It's not going to compose. So mereological complexity is absent. Correct?
Mhm.
Okay. So my view, which is just going to say that there is no ontological priority because they're causally inert, right? So they're not going to be able to be they're not going to be causally, or sorry, they're not going to be ontologically prior, due to them being causally inert. So they won't even be able to ground this whole to begin with, due to that, right? Because it's going to assume some sort of causal relation, and if they're causally inert, then that means that they're not apt to these sort of causal relations to begin with. So that's already out of the question. But they're really distinct, right? And they constitute the essence, and I'm saying this in my own words. They constitute the essence insofar as God, if God did not have the attribute of power, then he's obviously no longer God. But that's obviously going to be a bicondition. So it's not going to be a real dependence relation, like a one-way ontological dependence relation. So there is no causal link here, right?
But then to posit that is to posit causal inertia. That
No,
is
that's not.
causally inert.
No, because
Because
in
we're saying a cause is just
ontological,
that by which something necessarily follows.
no, because
If I
this is
say,
counterfactual. That's false.
and you already posited a biconditional relation.
False, false, false. A bicondition isn't going to be a real dependence relation where one is causing another, because an ontological dependence relation is going to be like that. An ontological dependence relation is just going to say if A causes B, right, and A ceases to exist, then B likewise ceases to exist, but not vice versa. And the reason why is because B is ontologically dependent on A, and it's not going to be two-way. But if it's a two-way dependence relation, or a bicondition, or a counterfactual, whatever you want to call it, right, then it's going to be two-way, which means that if A ceases to exist, then B ceases to exist, and vice versa. So they're not ontologically dependent on each other. That's just gibberish, because an ontological dependence relation is one way. So to say that they're ontologically dependent on each other is just meaningless, right? So there isn't going to be anything causal between them, because again, it's causally inert. I already explained that view. I said the synthetic shift.
Causality, yeah, oh my goodness, causality does not depend on a one-way dependence.
It doesn't just have to be, but in this case, it would be, because I take them to be causally inert. So all I mean by that, when I say that he's not himself anymore, and he loses the attribute, is because the attribute is a descriptor, right? So it describes the essence. He doesn't act by virtue of it. So if I were to say that God is not all powerful, then that automatically means he doesn't have this descriptor describing him, i.e., the attribute of power to describe him. But if I say that he doesn't have the attribute of power, i.e., the descriptor of power, then that also means he's not all powerful. That's all it means here.
Right.
There's nothing causal about that because they're a descriptor.
So then if we say that God's all-powerful, then we're positing God exists under your view then, right?
Sorry? We're
I said
positing
under
that
your
God exists
view.
under my view?
Yeah, if we posit God's all-powerful, then we're positing God exists under your view, right?
I mean, obviously, you're describing his
And
existence.
and also if we say that God's essence, then we're positing God's exists, then we're positing God's all-powerful under that view then, right?
Yeah, because
Then that's
yeah.
under my semantics, it's a causal relation. Hello? So it's not
Sorry, under
causally
what?
inert. Under my semantics, it's a causal relation. Is it not?
Under your semantics, that's the cause. Why should I even have to accept that?
Hmm?
Why should I have
All
to
I need
accept
is
that? There's
this
some sort of
cause.
causal
All I need
relation
is
in
no.
reality between these two objects.
You don't have to accept my definition. Its definition is still
Yeah,
problematic.
well, I don't give a fuck about what you're saying then. Like, under my semantics, that
It's
means
still
that. I don't care.
problematic.
Why
It's
is that
still
interesting?
problematic,
I don't even
even
know
for
what
your
your
claim,
semantics are.
because
How does
that's
that even
all you
count?
need in
How
order.
does that even
Yeah, like, that's all you need in order to have mereological.
under my semantics, your view is retarded. Under everyone's semantics here, your view is retarded.
Totally, bro. So when we talk about
Like, what kind of
mereological
dumbass shit is
complexity,
this,
then
bro? Like,
yeah.
you
So
can't
when we
just
have
go around.
yeah. So then when we talk about mereological
We have
complexity,
to talk about it. Look, no, Wi-Fi. We have to talk about it. You can't just go around saying, "Oh, under my semantics, that view is problematic." Who cares about your semantics? I don't accept your semantics.
I
You're
don't
giving
say
an argument.
because of my
You're
semantics is
giving an argument
problematic. I'm
against
saying
me.
you're contradicting something that you hold is true. That's why it's problematic. Not because my
No.
semantics
You
is
said
this. That's
under
not what
your
I'm saying.
semantics. You said under
Yeah,
your
I'm saying under my
semantics.
semantics is this. That's all I'm saying with that is me saying this X is Y is not I mean, I can say X is Y because that's what I defined it as.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
bro!
not
You said
saying that
under your no, bro.
it's not problematic for
I don't
you.
think you know what's
I'm not
happening right
saying
now.
that's
You
problematic for you.
said
Obviously, it's
You
not.
said no. You said it's problematic in general. You didn't say for me or for you or anyone. Well, I guess whoever takes your semantics, it would be problematic for
Yeah,
them.
I didn't say that anyone. Oh my god, I'm not saying it's problematic because of my semantics. I'm saying it's
Okay, so why is it
problematic
problematic? Okay, no.
because
Because
of
now,
its
like, you're just being
entailment.
retarded with me. Now you're just being dishonest. Just say you fucked up on your words or something, dude. Say something else.
I
Because
didn't.
you literally told me this. This is exactly what you told me. you asked me this set of questions, and you said, "Oh, well, that's a causal relation, but under my semantics." I said, "Well,
Yes,
who
that's
gives a
a causal
fuck about your
relation under my
semantics?"
semantics. You
I said,
said
"Who
you
cares
don't
about your
care.
semantics?" Like, at
And
least
I'm
that's
gonna
because
say
you're giving
I
an
don't
argument.
care if you care about my semantics
Okay, but
because
you're
it's
giving
so
an argument
problematic.
against
I
me.
try
You're
to
giving
go
an
on to
argument against
explain it.
me and my
I
view,
try to go on
right?
to explain
So
why it's
you're giving an
problematic.
argument against my
Cut
view.
me off like
What
you're
you
doing
could
now.
do, shut up for 1 second. What you could do is at least prove your semantics here to be like triumphing over what I'm positing,
What does
or
it mean
just
to
leave the
have
discussion because you
semantics
suck and you
triumph?
can't do
That
that,
doesn't make sense.
right? Because you
And
did say it was problematic. You said it was problematic.
yeah, what I'm saying is
So
problematic
what's
though.
problematic? Is it
Entailed
problematic
from
in
the view.
general for those who hold your semantics, or in general? What is it?
Oh my goodness, that view is problematic in general
Which
because
view? The view I take?
yes,
Why?
yes, okay. So the view that you take problematic in general because you're saying that these things are ruled out because they're causally inert. So ontological dependence, I mean not ontological dependence, mereological complexity is ruled out because of that. And I'm saying, well,
And you
no,
agree.
this is all you need in order to have mereological
But you agreed to that,
complexity.
correct?
What I said for you need for mereological complexity is just to be ontologically prior
Mhm.
and to be distinct from the whole.
Exactly. And I'm saying that if they are causally inert, then they are not ontologically prior. Because what it means for them to be ontologically prior in this case, right, is that they're going to make up the whole or ground the whole, i.e., they would obviously bring it into existence in some sort of fashion, right?
Yeah.
But that would require them to be apt to causal relations. So if they're causally inert, they're not going to be ontologically prior to be able to do that. Secondly,
Well, I would just
even if I
deny
were to
that claim in the first place because the whole
deny
point
what
is
claim that they're causally inert,
that you need causality the way that you talking about it in order to
okay, so
be
what do you take?
ontologically
Okay,
prior.
so then what do you take grounding to mean here? So if I were to say that they're ontologically prior, what are they doing when they're ontologically prior? Are they grounding the whole?
They're making the whole follow. So, like if I
So
said,
what does it mean to
if
make
the
the whole here?
unity,
Does it involve some sort of grounding? And if it does involve grounding, do you take grounding to be causal or non-causal?
I don't really use the word grounding. I just use the
Okay,
word
yeah, that's
causal.
why I said if you do take the word grounding. So what do you? So again, then are you not going to take that to mean the grounding when you say they're making up the whole?
No, I just mean they're causing the whole, which is that by which it
So they're
necessarily
causing.
follows.
Holy fuck! So you're saying that they're causing the whole, right?
Yeah,
So there has to be some sort of causal relation if they're making up the whole. You just deny that?
I said under
And you
your
denied it
view,
grounding. That's why
causal
I'm
under your
so
view.
confused.
I said the causal relation under your view. Under my view, the causal relation is just that by which
No,
something
again,
necessarily
again, again, again.
follows.
No. What
So
we're
then the
talking about,
union of these
what we're
parts, the whole
talking
would
about,
necessarily follow. So then
yeah,
once these parts
you're already
unify,
agreeing to a causal
there
relation.
that would be mereological complexity.
I know, and
Your
I'm
view of
agreeing that there has
causality,
to be a
because
causal
my
relation.
view of causality would be
Oh my god, one
excluded
second,
under
one second.
yours.
Because you know you got trapped and you're not letting me talk. You just said that there is going to be a causal relation granting an ontological priority here, right? So you
Mhm.
already agree that there's going to be a causal relation and that they're going to be causing. And by the way, I literally said that. Do you take that to be grounding? And if it is grounding, is it causal or non-causal? So I think you do actually take it to be grounding when you said I'm not using that term, but it is grounding, by the way. It's just in a causal, under causal, granting like causal grounding, if you were to say it like that. But anyways, if you're granting a causal relation to be the case here in terms of making up the whole, well, I'm going to reject that because I don't even take the attributes to be apt to these causal relations. It doesn't matter what you take causal relations to mean here. If you take something to be causally inert, they're not going to be apt to causal relations whatsoever, right? So that's already going to make your argument fall flat no matter what you take causal relations to be.
So you don't care about my causal relations, and these things are cannot cause because of the reason that you gave, which is ontological dependence
No,
is one way and not two way. And if
I'm
it's
saying
two
that if
way,
you take
then it's not a
I'm saying that
cause under your
if you
view.
take them to be causally inert, it doesn't matter what you take a causal relation to be here. They're not going to be apt to them whatsoever.
And that's exactly
Right?
what I'm challenging.
But yeah, I think what you're challenging is me saying that they're causally inert. You're probably just saying, well,
Yes.
no, they cannot be causally inert
Under your
because,
commitments,
yeah,
yes.
because of a bicondition here and whatever. So again, you never really attacked that. You just told me what it means to be ontologically prior, right? And what it means to make up something. But you didn't tell me exactly why I should even commit myself to this view that you gave. So again, why should I even commit myself to saying that there's a causal relation when I have a descriptor, right? Describing the essence, but not necessarily in some sort of, or obviously a causally inert descriptor, describing the essence, and they're going to be counterfactually dependent on each other. How is there going to be any sort of causal relation here?
You just keep equivocating. You're saying it's not a causal relation because it's biconditional. When I just told you what I mean by causality already includes that. And you're just saying, well, why should I
Yeah, so
accept
what do you
that?
mean by
And I'm
causality
saying,
here?
what do you mean? Why should you
What do you
accept that?
mean by
Accept what?
causality?
That's
Can
the
you?
definition. Because we can attach any label onto that definition. It doesn't matter. You can call it
Yeah.
whatever
So
you
what do you
want.
mean? What do you?
The meaning
Okay.
is
So
still the
what's? Can
same.
you like hash out what you mean by what do you take causal relations to be here? And can you apply it in this instance?
Yeah. So that by which something necessarily follows. So
That
then,
by which something necessarily follows.
mm-hmm,
That by which something necessarily follows.
mm-hmm,
So that's what a causal relation is for you here.
mm-hmm.
That by which something necessarily follows. Wholly uninformative. Like what?
Wait, Chad, please bake.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. How are you going to apply that here?
Yeah, because if it's biconditional, then we're going to say if A, then B necessarily. Then we're going to say if B, then A necessarily. So there is causal relations here.
If A, then B necessarily. If yeah, but I'm just taking it to be a biconditional to begin with. So I'm not going to
Okay.
take it to be a necessary condition, right? Because that's what an ontological dependence relation would posit. It would posit if A, then B. And obviously, granting that A ceases to be, then B likewise ceases to be, because there's some sort of grounding relation there, right? And it wouldn't be vice versa. But in this case, it's going to be a bicondition. So it would be
You're
vice
just saying
versa.
ontological. You're just saying it is a biconditional, which isn't ontological dependence the way you view it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I know that you're already applying causal relations to be like applied to by conditions here, and I'm completely rejecting that because again, like you're gonna say that they're both causal relations, like an ontological dependence relation, which does involve some sort of real dependency, whilst you have a bicondition which clearly doesn't involve any sort of real dependency. Again, you're just gonna like
It
be
does have
conflating
real
terms here.
dependency, hello?
Sorry.
Because without A, there wouldn't be no B. So in that
Yeah.
sense, it's dependent.
Are you saying what has real dependency?
Both of the things in the biconditional.
No, yeah, only one of them do. I say ontological dependence relations do. I don't think counterfactuals do because it's a bicondition. Yeah,
What
A
do you
does
think
A need
dependence
B, but
is?
vice versa.
What
Dude,
do you
this is
think?
dude, you're
Yeah,
just
what do you
wasting
think?
my time. Can you
What do you think?
genuinely get all the argument?
What do you think dependence is? You already conceded to it.
How did I concede to what?
To it being causal. You're
I
just
didn't
saying I
concede
reject
to
your
it. I
semantics. You're
didn't,
just saying I don't
bro.
accept your semantics. I'm saying I don't care.
Yeah, no,
Still
because you
is.
impose those semantics onto me, and I'm saying that what I asked you is why should I even accept your semantics? And this is
You're
you trying
rejecting
to
the
get me to
label. The
accept your
label is not
semantics.
important. You can
Shut
use
up for
whatever
1 second.
label you
Shut up for
want.
1 second. This is you trying to get me to accept your semantics. You're basically telling me, A then B, necessarily A then B. That's what I mean. It just follows from that. That's what I mean by causal relation. It just follows from something, right? Like A then B. That's exactly what you told me. And I told you to give it in this instance, and you said, well, it's still going to be causal if it's a bicondition because well, A then B. And then obviously it's vice versa as well for that. But for an ontological dependence relation, it's just going to be one way. So it would just be A then B, not vice versa. Meaning that if A ceases to exist, then B ceases to exist, but not vice versa in this case, right?
You're not.
You're
You're
just
just saying, well,
restating your
why should
stupid
I accept
semantics.
the thing
You're just restating your
doesn't
moronic
apply?
semantics, and then said I conceded to it, which I clearly did not concede to a bicondition being a causal relation in any sort of way. I don't remember where I did that.
You don't understand what I'm saying? I'm saying that the
I do
thing
understand
signified.
exactly what you're saying.
Listen, be quiet. I'm saying the thing signified is the relevance, not what's used to signify it. I can speak to you in any language. That's the thing used to signify, but the thing signified will still be the same. Just because you have a problem with me, the word I use to signify that by which something necessarily follows being a causal relation doesn't defeat the
Did I say I have an
disagree.
issue with the word? I don't think I said I had an issue with your
You're
words.
saying why
Did I
should I
say I have an
accept
issue
your
with your
semantics?
words?
That's all it is. It's saying
Okay, what
X
word did I have
refers
an
to
issue with
Y.
that I said? Okay, 1 second,
Causal
because now you're just being
relation
dishonest.
or
What
dependence.
word? What word did I say I have an issue with in the way that you were taking it to be?
Causal relation.
No, I didn't have an issue with that word in itself. I said I had an issue with your model or exactly what you take causal relations to be. Meaning, I don't take this to be a causal relation, but maybe you take that to be a causal relation because what constitutes a causal relation is different than yours, is different than mine. That's all. That's the issue here. And you're trying to prove otherwise, or at least you're trying to prove that my view is lower than your view in this case. And all you're doing is
What
just
does it mean to
restating
say lower?
a retarded
So I'm
view.
saying this is
You're not
semantical. It's
saying-
not just what you're saying. What it is, I'm saying it's a semantics issue, not really
yeah,
a
because you're
substantive
just
issue.
falsely saying that something is a causal relation where I don't accept that. And I'm asking
What
you,
does it mean to have a
why
false definition? What does that even
why
mean?
should I didn't say a false definition. Anyways,
We're
why
giving
should
a
I
definition
accept
for a
that?
word. So then you're
I
saying, and
didn't
then you're
say a
saying it's
definition
false.
for a word, you
So then what does it mean
absolute
to have a
retard. I
false
said you're
definition?
falsely ascribing this to be a causal relation when it's not.
And how am I ascribing it to be a causal relation? It's analytic,
You
right?
literally just
So if
said
you're
that there is a
denying
causal
me saying
relation
that it's a
between these
causal
two,
relation
despite there being a
because of the
bicondition.
analytics, then you're
Are you
saying
this
that
slow? Are you this
you're,
slow? No, are you generally this slow? Like, stop being dishonest. I'm saying that I don't agree that there's a causal relation there. That's all I'm fucking saying when I say that you're falsely ascribing it to be a causal relation. I don't give
Yo,
a
and
fuck
why,
about
use
if
how am
it
I
rhetoric.
ascribing it to be?
Yo, Jad,
what.
use rhetoric, bro.
What's my argument for doing that? I said it's analytically true,
Well,
right?
that's my argument for doing that because you take causal relations to include biconditions, meaning you just take a causal relation to be something which follows from another.
So I
That's
take it to
exactly
be
what you're doing.
analytic, right?
Sorry?
I take it to be analytic, right?
I don't remember you saying that or not saying that, but when I
I'm
asked you
saying
what
it's
is a
true
causal
by virtue
relation,
of its
can
meaning
you
that it
shut
is a
up, you
causal
retard, for
relation.
1 second? Because when I asked you what is a causal relation, you told me it's just something following from another, right? That's exactly what you told me. And then you gave me an example and you told me how you applied it in my model and why my model would entail a causal relation under your view of what a causal relation is. That's exactly what you told me. I don't know why you're being dishonest and now you're trying to switch up your definitions and trying to switch up your terms.
Why am I trying to switch up? I'm just saying it's analytically true, which is what I was
Okay,
saying.
sure, I don't give a fuck what you take it to be, but that's how you defined it prior to me.
And then you
just
said that's false. Then you're saying the analytics are false. I'm saying, what the fuck does that
no,
even mean?
I'm saying that you are falsely ascribing this to this scenario. I mean, you're committing a categorical error. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not saying that your term or your I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying that you're just committing a category error. That you're falsely ascribing there to be a causal relation where there's not a causal relation. If I take something to be analytical, I'm not going to apply it to like some BS scenario where it doesn't apply. It doesn't matter what I take it to be, right? They can still be categorically error. Like there can still be a category error somewhere with those
So the
terms.
definition doesn't apply?
Oh my God, I'm saying the term causal relation, there is going to be no causal relation applicable to a bicondition. That's what I take it to be. That's all I'm saying. That's literally all I'm fucking saying. It's a category error to say there's a causal relation.
I don't think there's enough to talk
Stop
about.
asking me the same shit over and over again. Like it's
I don't
not.
think there's nothing to talk about then, bear.
Huh?
I think we can end the conversation there then, bear.
Wait,
Alright.
Whyfun. I have a question. What do you mean when you say that's what causation, which by which something necessarily follows? Like, what do you mean by
Yeah, like
that?
that's so uninformative. Like I just let it happen, I guess, but it's so uninformative.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Okay, what do I mean by that?
Yeah.
It can be anything. Like if I say X necessarily follows from Y, there's different ways in which X can cause Y. Like what can cause different things. That doesn't
What?
come from. Let me finish. It
What?
doesn't. It's supposed to. Let me finish. I'm saying it's supposed to be broad on purpose. I can say X causes the form of Y.
What the fuck are you talking
It's
about?
so uninformative. It's so
We asked
bullshit.
for your definition of causation, and this was the definition for causation. And then you use causation when I'm asking you to define what you mean by that. Are you like a real human?
Bro, that's what I'm
If
saying. Faint. That's why I let
Listen,
him go.
you said that by
Couldn't
which
even
something
prove he
necessarily
couldn't
falls.
even
I'm
prove
saying.
his own idea
You're
onto
saying
I'm
mine.
what does
He
asking
that
what
just
you
mean?
mean by
restated his
that.
Yeah,
view.
listen. You're saying what does that mean? And what I said was that what by which something necessarily follows. I can say that by which this form necessarily follows.
Dude,
And
are
you're
you
asking what
like
I mean. I'm saying
okay, imagine okay, let me try to explain this to you, right? So like imagine I walk up to you and I don't know what a tree is. And then let's just okay, obviously that's not how a tree is defined, but you just say something that which is composed of wood. And then when I asked what do you mean when you say composed of wood, and in you trying to define that you use tree, do you think that's going to be informative?
that's not the same thing as here. Because what I'm saying is that the meaning doesn't come from the It's supposed to be general. You have a problem with it being general, and I'm saying it's
What are you
supposed to be
talking
general
about?
until we apply it to something else.
What are you talking about? I'm asking
I'm
you to define your
confused.
terms.
You're saying it's not informative because it's ambiguous, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I'm saying it's supposed to be ambiguous until you specify it, as in the 4 Aristotelian causes.
What do you mean? It's supposed to be ambiguous until you
What?
specify it into the 4 Aristotelian. Wait, so to hold what the fuck are you talking? I actually am
This guy
so
is
like
so
what are
brain
you talking?
dead. What the
Like
fuck?
okay, so does this theory of causation commit you to the Aristotelian view of causation, or like what are you talking about? Or the
Dude,
Aristotelian
you
view of
can
cause?
still give an informative account of a theory of causation. Like, you don't have to specify this and specify that. You could still provide an informative account, like at least very like simply. What the fuck are you on about?
Oh my god, what the fuck is this guy talking about, dude?
He's so low tier, bro.
I don't think
Yo,
I've ever
horrible. Get
actually
the boy.
seen someone like this confused. What the
Wait,
fuck is
bro.
wrong
Wait,
with
Fate,
that
Fate.
person?
Did you hear when I was like, you're falsely ascribing this to be a causal relation? All I'm saying is that it's a categorical error, and he just kept saying, well, it's analytically true. So why are you denying that? I was like, what?
Bro, what the fuck is wrong with these
Was I the
people,
only one who
dude?
caught that, bro?
Bro, where do
That's
these
so
thomists come with? Where do these thomists come from, bro?
I don't even fucking know.
Real
Yo,
muscle.
Moro, bro, you gotta help your boy, bro.
By
Real
which
muscle.
something necessarily that shit was so funny. I asked him to like disambiguate that. He was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, you know, like a cause, you know, like something necessarily follows, like the form necessarily follows." What a good guy, bro.
Yeah, I know. I heard him in the very beginning. He told me that as well. And I just kept repeating it. I was like, I don't know if this dude like wants to say anything else other than that. It's just like so fucking uninformative. So I kind of just went with it. And just like it didn't go anywhere. That's the whole point. It doesn't go anywhere. When you take that stupid uninformative view, it literally goes nowhere. He just restates his position and then falsely ascribes some sort of causal relation wherever he wants. Because it's so uninformative.
Bro, people like that are so funny, bro.
Dude, oh my gosh.
Bro, did you?
The guy actually sucks, bro. No, Moral, bro. Mic up, bro. Get your boy.
I don't even think that's the real
Bro,
moral.
what do
Is
you want me
that?
to do?
It is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, what do you want me to do, bro?
Bro, get Whyfun, bro. That nigga sucks.
Nah, he's a clever guy, bro. Just relax, okay?
Huh?
You gotta help that guy.
He's a clever guy, bro. He got it.
Bro,
Nigga, he ain't no clever guy.
Why are so many of your friends like mentally retarded, bro? I remember when like all you
I don't
Thomas
even
tried GC
look.
trapping me.
Listen, bro. Listen. First off, I don't even know Whyfun like that. Second of all, I'm not friends with those dumb niggas who you talked to like months ago, who said 2 plus 2 equals 4 is not a proposition. I do not associate with that, bro. I do
Those
not
people are so
associate with
funny,
that
bro.
shit.
Those people are so funny, bro. And they told me that, bro, Jad, I was debating Thomas, and they told me transitivity commits the fallacy of undisputed middle.
What the fuck?
Wait, yo, Jad is
Bro, they
right.
literally just be saying things, bro.
Wait, Jad, you know who Hero is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy who said that.
What the fuck? Undisputed middle? I'm fucking crying, bro. Yo, what about the Faint, what about the Thomist? What do you think of the Thomists that say transitivity requires a conceptual identity?
What? Why would anyone
You've
believe
never heard
that?
of that? You've never heard of that?
No, I've never heard of that. Why the
That's
fuck
like
would
the
anyone
big
believe
thing.
that?
That's the big thing. They all say that.
Why would anyone? What?
That's like such a retarded understanding of the operator. Like, when you express this in logic, you're not going to be able to express like any sort of conceptual identity. That's just moronic.
Who said this?
I'm pretty sure they get it from Aquinas. Like they get it
That
straight from
ass?
Aquinas. Yeah.
I remember I was watching like two tome. No, it wasn't. It was like one EO and one Catholic, I think, and they were versing Danny Phil talks and like some one guy, and like he tried giving an argument against transitivity, where it was like the road to Athens. Wait, what was it? It was like the road to Athens to
I
some
know what
other
you're talking
city. Like, did that shit was like so bad? I actually just stared in awe, bro. Like, I actually couldn't believe like he tried giving this as like an argument against transitivity, dude. Like,
Yeah,
I
they also
actually just
like
couldn't
to
believe this.
they like to
عليكم
give like the
ورحمة
dumb
الله وبركاته.
Aristotelian like
وعليكم
action
السلام.
passion bullshit as well.
Action passion? What's that?
You've never heard of that? They're just like action and passion are identical to motion, but not identical to each other.
What is action?